Hey guys, it's Michelle with Sweet Pea Farm NY, and today I'm going to be showing you guys how to make these really sweet and fun crocheted pumpkin decorations. They're great for fall, Halloween time. They're very fast and simple, and you don't have to think a lot about them. You can kind of just crankle on while you're sitting in a pickup line for the kids or waiting on anything. So let's get started on making our pumpkin, and if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit the thumbs up if you like this video. And if you guys have any questions, if I left anything out, because that's very possible, then make sure just to leave them in the comments below. All right, let's get started. All we're gonna need to make this project is some yarn in the color you want your pumpkin to be, a corresponding crochet hook for the size yarn you have, a pair of scissors, some cinnamon sticks, some polyfill to stuff the pumpkin with, a hot glue gun to finish it off with, and then a needle, and then we'll talk about some other fun additions you can add to it if you want to at the end. Okay guys, so to get started, we're just gonna take our yarn and hook and make a basic slip knot to get it going. I'm gonna chain 25. You can make these, you know, as long or short as you want, but the amount you chain is going to be the height of your pumpkin. So 25 is what I've been making, but you can make bigger or smaller. Six, seven, I always have to count because I'm not good at going back. 16, whoop, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Okay, so now we have our chain of 25, and for the first row we're just going to double crochet into each loop. So let's get that done and I'll be right back. We'll do the first ones together. You just insert your hook into the loop, pull back through, and double crochet into the next chain. All right, we're gonna do that all the way down 25 times. We'll be right back. Guys, so we have come to the end of our row of double crochets, and now we're gonna start the first real row, and this is how we're gonna do all the subsequent rows after this. So pretty simple, you know, easy to just kind of mindlessly do. I've been making these like while I'm waiting for the kids to get out of school. So at the end of each row, you're going to chain 2, right? Because we're doing double crochets. So chain 2, and then we're going to, from this point on, we're only going to be double crocheting into the back loop. So yarn over, insert your hook into that back loop, pick it up, and finish your double crochet. So this is insert in the middle of the chain, only into that back loop, finish your double crochet. So we're only going to ever be crocheting into back loops for this pattern, and we're just going to go back and forth. I do this 25 to 30 times. It depends on how fat you want your pumpkin, but by crocheting in that back loop, you're creating a little offset that'll kind of mimic the ridges of the pumpkin. So into that back loop, pick it up, and you can already see that it's starting to make a little ridge between the two rows. So you're going to just continue on with that 30 times or more or less, depending on how you want your pumpkin to turn out. But if you want to make it like the ones I showed you, we'll do 30 rows into the back loop. You'll chain 2 at the end of each row and then double crochet into the back loop again. All right, so let's do that 30 times and I'll be right back. Okay guys, so I have done my 30 rows and this is what it looks like. It's just like a little scarf with, you know, the ridges on it from using the back loop. And all I did was tie it off and leave a long tail. So I'm going to take that long tail of yarn and thread my little darning needle onto it. If I pick the right end, we'll be in good shape. This may be the hardest part of the entire project. There we go, not too bad. Okay, so first we're just going to take the start and the finish and seam them up. I just kind of stitch back and forth. I've done this with the crochet hook. I've crocheted, you know, to seal up the end as well. You can do that if you'd rather. But I think I do this mostly. If you do the crochet, it does create like a secondary ridge. You know how if you would finish, and I kind of thought it was a little noticeable, like you could see where the seam was more. But either way, if you'd rather just crochet them together, you're welcome to do that, or just do a quick little quilt stitch back and forth, and you're going to end up with a little ridgy tube. Also, you need to sew the tops and bottoms too, so I figure, you know, you might as well just do it all this way. Probably a little bit quicker. Right, so that's the tail from our previous spot. I'm just going to hold that in while I sew it shut so that it stays in. So now we have a little circle sewed up this end, and now we're just going to take the end that we stopped sewing at and do a slip stitch around it, because then we're just going to pull it tight to create the bottom of the pumpkin. So in and out, not very particular or precise, just enough to make it pull tight when you get to the end. I started trying to find patterns for these, and there are a ton, but some of them are really confusing and not quite as versatile. I wanted to figure out a way to make them and kind of be a no-brainer and be able to make a bunch of sizes, because I'm a pumpkin fanatic with the real pumpkins and gourds, so I like to make a variation of these to have to decorate with for fall. So this pattern's super easy. You can change the number of chains you start with, you can change the number of rows you make, and it'll vary the size of the pumpkin that is the finished product, so kind of fun. And also, I'm not a very particular person. I like things that are simple, and I just unthreaded my needle. Darn it. Gotta pay attention. But I just like it to be fun and not too finicky. So this was just something I came up with one evening on the couch, and now I've been hooked on making some, and some people asked for the pattern, so I figured this would be the easiest way to share. So here we are back at the start where we started. We're just going to pull tight, and that's going to create the bottom of the pumpkin now all together. I am going to just go across the hole a couple times just to keep any stuffing from wanting to push through before I tie this off and cut the yarn. My little parakeets are chiming in today. All right, so this is finished off on the bottom. Tuck in the end so that it's not sticking out. And now we just take a hefty amount of our polyfill. I just got this at Joann's or Michael's. Always use your coupons on your phone. And you want to stuff your pumpkin so that it's fairly decent in width, holds its shape well. And then when you're fairly happy with how much stuffing you have in it, we're gonna check it out and start the finished stitch. Now's a good time to plug in your hot glue gun, because we're gonna need that to finish it. At this point, I am gonna tie a little knot in the end of my yarn so that I hopefully don't pull it all the way through, because now with the resistance from the stuffing in there, it might wanna pull itself loose. So starting back wherever you can find, we're going to do that same slip stitch all the way around. It's harder for me to hold up with the, you got to kind of hold the filling down in there to keep it from pulling up. And before we pull this tight, we're going to take a cinnamon stick. I usually cut one in halves or thirds because you only need what you want sticking out for the stem. And we're going to glue that, put a little dab of hot glue on the end of that and shove it down into the polyfill. And that just gives it an anchor to kind of stay down in the right spot, because without the hot glue, if somebody picked the pumpkin up by the stem, it would just pull right out through the slip stitch. So the hot glue just gives it a little anchor to keep it in there if it's picked up that way. All right, so I'm all the way around back to my initial knot. So these are the two ends. And so if I pull this, it's gonna close it up. But first I'm gonna go get a dab of hot glue on my cinnamon stick. And when I say a dab, I really mean more like a glob. I really want a heavy amount on there to keep it all anchored in. And then we just shove it into the middle where we want it, and that's going to cool and stay in place in the polyfill. So holding that to cool for a second, and then I'm going to make sure I don't have any of those yucky hot glue strings. And then we just pull the two ends tight. So I got it pulled pretty tight around there, and now I'm going to tie them together so that they stay tight. Leaving the needle on the yarn makes that a little bit easier to get the knot tight when you're all done. So I'm going to do the same thing like I did on the bottom. Now I have the slip stitch pulled, but I am going to go across the hole a few times just to keep, oh, I keep losing my threading today. I'm just going to go across the gap a few times just to keep it from leaking any of the polyfill. Just to kind of keep it a little bit snugger around, is that a word, snugger? A little bit more snug around the stem. And then I'm going to tie that off again. I don't know where this came from, but I'll tie it in with it so it's not sticking out. And then to make the little curls like the vine from the pumpkin, you can do several things. You could crochet a curl if you wanted to. You know, just crochet a chain and it would naturally curl up. Or I have green wool locks that I've used for some of my pumpkins and just glued them on by the stem. But something a little bit more accessible to other people would be this floral wire you can find at the craft store. And then if you just find like a paintbrush or a pencil or something and wrap it around that to make the little coils, then you can slide it right off. I don't know if I want to cut this or what. No, I think I'm going to do it just like that. So then you just want to get a little dab of hot glue, and you can hot glue it onto your cinnamon stick. Right, so just press it on there. And once it cools, you can change the shape of those, pull them up and change them around. And there you have your little crocheted pumpkin. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys make some pumpkins, comment below and let me know where I can check them out, because I'd love to see other people's stuff. And if you have any other fun fall crafts that are quick and easy and not too mindful, then I would love to hear all about them. So thanks you guys so much for watching. Again, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for all sorts of fun stuff going on the farm. Have a great rest of your day, guys.